So I just went and grabbed another tripod that's going to be for my radio, and I'll show you how I'm going to set that up. Okay. So in this radio pouch, open this up. You've got the disc here, and you've got the pole. So this disc will go right there, and the pole will just screw in like that. But before I put that on, I'm just going to put the other thing on here, and that is this guy. So this guy will screw right on there. Okay, and in here I've got that basically goes on top of here. Okay, all right, and then I am going to assemble this on top of that. Okay, so now this guy, you can extend it actually as long as you want. You just give it a twist. When that button comes up, that is the tallest that it can be. Or for this exercise, I'm just going to, well, let's just leave it like that. So I'm just gonna untangle this. So this guy goes on top. Okay, so just to show you, the whole purpose of this tripod is just to hold the radio antenna. If you don't have an extra tripod, sometimes I just, use a bipod, or you can just lean it against the fence, tie it with some, cord or something like that. Basically, it doesn't have to be perfectly level or anything like that. But the taller the antenna is, the more range you're going to get from it. So depending on how far you're going to go, I would set this up taller or shorter. Yep. Alright. Just getting rid of all these knots here. So that's basically how it is. Now this guy, so one end is attached to that, the other end is going to go right into here. So the bottom of the radio, that's your power in the middle, your antenna connection on this side. Okay, make that tight. Alright, and that's the data cable. That's the other end of the Y cable. But before I put that in, I'm just going to plug this in. Now, this is a very important part. On the battery, you have positive and you have negative. Positive, negative. If you put these backwards, there's a fuse in here. The fuse is going to burn. You don't want that to happen. So, positive and negative. Okay. So now we have power to the Trimble 3 radio. Just going to show you here. Yes, so there we go, and that's the channel that you're on. On here, if you hit next, so first of all, the number one mistake that people make is right here. If you press up or down button, your frequency is going to change. Okay. You don't want that to change, because if it does, then it's not going to talk to your Rover anymore. So make sure that stays the same. Okay, if you change, you can change this in here, but then you'd have to change it on your Rover as well, which you do on the data collector. So I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to hit next. Okay, so mode is base with no repeater. Transmitter power, you have medium power, which is 10 watts. You can make it low power, which is 2 watts, or you can make it high power, which is 25. So you got 3 different power modes: 25 watts, 10 watts, and 2 watts. I find that 2 watts is more than what I need if I'm working anywhere within eyesight of my base station. If I'm going like kilometers away, if I'm doing a job that my base station is going to be, I don't know, 5 kilometers away, I'll probably go up to 25 watts, which means it probably uses more, it'll use more battery from there. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at, let's just leave it in medium, which is 10 watts. Okay, so that's that. Now, this other cable, the Y cable, this will go into right there. So, again, there's only one way that these can go in. So don't try to push those in. Just, they should go in very easy. All right. So everything is right now set up, ready to go. Okay, and I usually, I don't know, put this, hang it right there, something like that, so that it doesn't, there's no stress on it. Okay, just looking at the wires. So this is, again, your tracking satellite, and you have power. Once again, this battery is only powering your base station. You could put, the small batteries into here, power it that way, but those usually, that's these batteries right here. These guys will last you probably, depending on the temperature outside, 4 or 5 hours each. And I've got 4 of these in here. So I usually use these leave these for my Rover, and I power the base station with this guy, which is a bigger battery. And this battery, I mean, it came with the instrument when I bought it. I find that even in cold weather, it lasts me a full day. But if you wanted to replace this, there's actually a way to open this up, and you can replace the battery inside. So now I'm gonna open up the data collector and just get this set up. Okay, so power this on. I'm gonna need to charge this. Anyways, so in here you basically press that button, and that will take you right into the program, the survey controller program. I don't know if I have a stylus here or not. Now this guy, you can just put this on there like that. Okay, so first thing I do is I go file, new job. Let's call it test. I'm just going to turn on my caps. So test. Alright, so in here, coordinate system, you can select from a library, which means you can survey in grid 3TM or something like that, or you can pick no projection, no datum. Let's just pick that. So coordinates, it's asking you if you're doing ground or grid. I'm gonna just pick grid. Project height, I need to give it an approximate project height. So here in Calgary we're about 1040. Okay, and you can tell if you want to use a geoid model. I usually do if I'm doing any elevation work. And basically you have 2 geoid models, Canadian GST95 or HT2. Let's pick that, hit store. So I just created a job called test. There's no projection, no datum, units are meters, there's no linked files, and that's usually all I do. Kogo settings, if you're doing any Kogo and you want it to be ground, you can change that to ground. Okay, hit accept. Page 2, I usually don't change any of that, so hit accept. Okay, alright, so right now I've got 30% in my data collector, so I'm going to make sure I charge that. Now this guy, the data collector, is going to talk to the receiver via Bluetooth, so I need to make sure that the Bluetooth is on. Okay, so I just hit configuration, control, Bluetooth. Okay, so in here you have 2 options. You have connected GPS receiver, you have base, okay, and I hit config, and I make sure that the Bluetooth is turned on. Okay, hit OK, hit accept. Now if I wait a few seconds, I should see this start to communicate with the base station. And the way I know that it's communicating it is that over here, see, everything just came up. So here it tells me that I have 7 satellites. Where's my pen here? I had a stylus. Oh, there's the stylus actually. So here, the top bar, that's the battery for the data collector. The second one, which is 40%, is this guy. That's the battery. And it's basically telling me that it's in communication with that, with the receiver. So what I need to go, I need to go survey, and I need to start the base station. So now I have RTK. The only two that I usually use is RTK and RTK log. So RTK will basically just start the base station. It would not log any data at the base. If I want to log data at the base, I can hit RTK log, okay, and then start base receiver. It's going to ask me for the antenna height, so it's asking me what's the point name. Okay, so I go key in, okay, and here at the bottom I have here. I'll just press here. When I press that, it says define coordinate system or change coordinate view settings. So if I go options, coordinate view, make that WGS84, accept. Okay, when I say, every time I press here, you see the coordinates change a little bit. You have latitude, longitude, and height. Okay, so I'm going to call this point number 1, and the code, you can say PLIS, for example, PLIS, placed iron spike or something like that. Hit enter, okay, and hit store. Now it's asking me for antenna height. Okay, now when you measure antenna height, down here it says measure to. You have center of bumper. You have 3 options. You have bottom of antenna mount. So bottom of antenna mount is right there. You have center of bumper, which is right there. That's the center of the bumper, and I usually measure to that. Okay, so pull out my tape measure. You know, let's just say I had a spike down there. So from the spike to the center of the bumper. So I'm measuring, let's say, you know, right there. So 1.84 is my height. 1.84. So I put that into here, 1.84, and I hit enter, and I hit start. Okay, it says starting survey,
waiting for satellite,
and we're done. So it says disconnect controller from receiver. I hit OK. All right. So right now your base station is basically logging data, and your radio here is transmitting data. And the way you know you want to make sure that it's transmitting, you just look on this. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that, but at the top right hand corner you see the tran light is flashing. So tran. Alright, so that means this is right now transmitting. Okay, and that's all you need to do with the base station. Now we go head over to the rover. So I grab the rover, I put a battery into it. Battery, so you got plus, there's only one way this goes in. Put that in here. Alright, and then now what you need to do, you need to also attach one of these antennas. There's 2 of them, so you got one for base, one for rover. You don't really need the base one, so you screw that on. All right, power is on. Let's just see what's going on. Perfect. Now you would need a pogo, obviously. And I screw this on. Okay, And same as the base station, again you see the satellite. When it's flashing fast, that means it's just looking for satellites. When it flashes slower, that means it's got minimum 4 satellites. You need minimum 4 satellites to get a position. Okay? And you can see that the radio link is flashing. That means it's receiving signal from your base station. So you always want to see the middle green light flashing. Okay? So we're going to let this find some satellites. Now, what else do I have in here? So this guy will just sit in there. Okay, so now I need to go back into configuration. Okay, and change it. Remember in the Bluetooth setting, right now it's showing me 6 satellites. That's your base station. So I need to go again, controller, Bluetooth, and instead of base, I need to pick Trimble. I'm going to make sure I delete alpha in there because you don't need it. So you got the base and you got the other one, which is the Rover. Okay, hit accept. And right now you see that my satellite light is flashing slowly. That means it's tracking, it's getting enough satellites. On here now, I'm in connection with the Rover basically. So it's telling me that the Rover has 6 satellites, the battery has 90%. Okay, this top one is for the data collector, is at 30%. Okay, so now I can go survey RTK, and I don't go start base, so I go start survey, or I can say measure points or whatever. So let's say start survey. Starting survey.
Waiting for information from the base.
So it actually talks to you. It says it's waiting for information from the base. There we go. Now, when I'm too close to the base station, sometimes, it has difficulty receiving, but right now it is receiving. I am kind of covered, near trees, so don't have a lot of satellites. But if you were, and the thing is, the main thing is, you can only get the satellites that are in common between your base station and your Rover, right? So right now, because I'm close to this building, I'm close to these trees, the base station is maybe only getting 5 or 6 satellites. So that means the Rover has only the same 5 or 6 satellites to choose from. Okay.